Hey guys. All right. So today I want to talk about an extremely important and powerful concept, our habits. Okay. So Joe Dispenza defines a habit as this. He says, a habit is a redundant set of automatic, unconscious thoughts, behavior, and emotion that's acquired through repetition. A habit is when you've done things so many times that your body now knows how to do it better than your mind. So basically, a habit is something that your body does with very little actual thinking power. So you ever think about it, if you ever get into your driveway, park your car, and wonder how you even got there because you can't actually remember being fully conscious during the drive, that's due to habits. Or you're heading somewhere different after work. And when you usually go straight home and end up at home without actually making that stop, thank you, habit. Or you get in the shower and you wash the same parts in the same order every time, that's habit. Put on your shoes in the same order, habit. You put on the same pant leg first, that's habit. So many things that we do in our day is due to habits. And we often refer to habits as its negative connotation. So, like, my bad habit is eating junk food, smoking, drinking, sneaking chocolate, and the list can go on and on and on. But today, I want us to turn our attention to the positive habits, which will help you phase out the not so positive ones. All right, so I'm not necessarily going to talk about good habits and bad habits. It's going to be habits that move you forward and habits that don't. All right. And today I'll be talking a lot about this book. Okay. Um, because it's full of amazing nuggets from front to back. So James Clear, the author of this book, he walks us through the importance of habits and gives us step-by-step instructions on how to create positive and effective ones. So this book, while we were reading it in study club, I found it to be a very easy read, very real, and I definitely recommend it to anybody who wants to learn more about habits, about how to. So he says, like, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones, and that's what his book is. So I highly recommend that book. It's important to know and understand that we can't simply eliminate a not so good habit. We need to replace that habit. So when we try and eliminate a habit without creating a plan for its replacement, this is where we set ourselves up to get off track. Let me explain that again. So we can't just take one out and not plan to put something back. Because when we do that, when we just take one out, we're basically leaving it up to us to either bring back the old one or replace it with another bad one. So you need to have a plan for that space. Okay, so for example, if you want to eliminate snacking on chips at night, but you're actually hungry at night, you can't simply say, I'm just not going to eat any chips, because eventually that hunger, that feeling in your stomach, will make it so that you bring back those chips. So instead, I'm going to say, okay, I'm hungry, so I'm not going to snack on chips because that's not going to help me. It's not actually feeding my body. I'm going to instead replace it with, let's say, cashews, almonds, walnuts, right? So now I am still keeping that habit there, but I've eliminated the need for the chips and I've replaced it with something that's going to nourish me a little more, right? So our habits have been set up in our lives subconsciously most of the time. We don't actually say or decide, I'm going to start this habit and let's go, right? Most of the time, we see our parents and grandparents doing things and we adopt them as our own. No one's at fault. We need to remember that we are doing the best we can with our level of awareness. That's a phrase that I will say often, and it was one that really helped me as I was growing and still continues to, because it's so easy to go down the rabbit hole of, oh, it's their fault, or beating yourself up because you were doing things a certain way and you shouldn't have, or you could have been doing something else. It doesn't matter. We are all doing the best that we can with our own level of awareness at the time, right? So it's important to be kind to yourself as you grow your awareness, because you will most likely be tempted to beat yourself up for doing things a certain way for so long. And I understand. But when you accept that you didn't know better, and now that you do, you'll find the room to forgive yourself and move forward. Right? So keep that in mind throughout anything that you're hearing, either with me or anywhere else. Remember that when you know better, you can do better. And if you didn't know better, then you couldn't do better. That's just the way it works, right? So it's also difficult to fully assess our habits and decide if they're serving us or not when you're not sure where you're going. So, for example, before I started creating my business, my habit of keeping myself busy and fretting over every little thing, being in its place, was an okay habit. It was annoying to those in my household, but it served a purpose. It helped me feel in control of my environment. It helped me keep busy, keep my mind busy. But now that I'm working on creating something so big and so awesome, that habit no longer serves me because it takes up my time, which could be better used. So again, I didn't know better, so I wasn't doing better. Now I know better, now I'm doing better, right? So maybe you have a binge watching Netflix kind of habit. I think most of us kind of do at one point or another. This is how you let go, maybe numb your brain, forget the day. So this habit has a purpose. But if you're taking courses to further your education or get your degree or achieve a goal, this habit no longer serves you. It is now sabotaging your success. Our habits are there to make life easier for us. So if we don't have to actually think about which parts to wash first when we get in the shower, it puts our brain into like this power saving mode, right? This is why, for myself, for example, in the shower, I get so many amazing thoughts in there. That's where I've come up with so many of my ideas and um, business startups are in the shower because my brain is now in power saving mode because it doesn't have to actually think, okay, I need to stand under the water. Okay, I need to wet my hair, I need to wet my body. All right, now I need to reach for the shampoo. I need to lather. I need to wash. My brain doesn't actually have to think about it. My body just does it, right? So now my brain is freed up because it's in power saving mode. It doesn't have to think about what I actually have to do. And it allows that room for me to think about other things. My shower to me is kind of like my meditation because I'm in that power saving mode. And honestly, guys, that's where a lot of my ideas come from. I get out of the shower and I most of the time reach for my phone and voice message myself or type it up in notes because I got a download while I was in there that I wouldn't get anywhere else. So that's where my meditation takes place. But again, it's habit. because my body is so used to doing the thing, washing my parts and all in the same order, my brain is now free to think of more productive things. So this means that our habits they're important. They're not meant to hinder our success or growth, but we need to realize that we need to be in control of our habits. Okay, so our habits are there to help us, but we need to take that control and make sure that the habits that we are using are going to help us grow. So at the beginning of my own self-growth journey, so just about over a year ago now, I slept in every single opportunity I got. Every minute I could, I slept. I snoozed my alarms, sometimes 4 to 6 times in the morning. I woke up cranky because now I had to rush, do the minimum so I can get my kiddos up and ready and have us all out the door on time, which, let's be real, never happened, right? So that was a habit. I had programmed myself to just snooze 4 to 6 times every single morning. My habit was to roll out of bed, do the least possible I could do to get myself up and going, crankily wake up my children, crankily get us ready, and usually walk out the door late and pissed off. That was my habit. That was my morning, right? I had built it up to look like that. And not necessarily like, it wasn't because I wanted it to look like that. That was just the habit that I had created. So when I first met my coaches over a year ago, and they talked about the program I was going to be working through, the work that I was going to have to do, and the results I was going to get, I was teary-eyed because they were bringing hope to the spiral that I had myself in. I was excited, scared, but I was excited that I had finally found an answer and a way. I now had the hope of being the better person I wanted to be, the better wife, the better mom, the better daughter, the better teacher, all of the things, right? And then 2 things happened during that call. One was the money that was brought up, which my paradigm screamed so loud because it was a lot of money to invest in myself, and I was not in the habit of doing that. But that's a whole other piece. And then they mentioned the time. So they said that I was going to be working on myself for about an hour every day. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. And then they said that we met every single morning at 6 a.m. and studied until 7 a.m. every day of the week. So, knowing that I had the habit of snoozing, sleeping in every single minute I could, and then launching myself into chaos and getting ready, well, this new idea was now contradicting that habit, right? So when they mentioned that, I started to panic. I froze. I got teary-eyed again, but for a whole other reason. And it was like, excuse me? Like, what do I have to do? I tried to find ways out of it. Started asking, like, can I do it at night? Does it have to be every day? Do I really need to be there at 6 a.m.? Can't I do the work in the evening? And my coaches were like, no, that's not doable. My coaches wanted me there at 6 a.m. every weekday. And then they told me that I got to sleep in a little bit on the weekends, and we met at 8 instead of 6, which was still not the sleeping in I was used to. I cried on our call because this was going against my current habits, which was honestly my only coping mechanism. I saw sleeping in as and sleep as the only way that I could calm everything that was going on in my brain. So when they mentioned that I couldn't sleep in anymore, that was part of the panic, right? I was going against my habits, and they were now taking away my coping mechanism. But I knew that that coping mechanism wasn't actually coping. It was just a way to silence it. It was a way to push it aside. And I knew that what I was going to be doing was going to help. I knew that. But I still had that kind of like that tug of war, a new habit coming in that I wasn't so sure about against an old habit. So finally, after some back and forth, I made that decision, and I can't even, and I don't want to imagine going back to before. I started waking up at 5:45 to make it on the call for 6 a.m. And then we studied the material, we worked in our workbooks, reflect, journal, write affirmations, etc. And then at 6:45, we all came back, discussed together about our realizations, our awareness, and our aha moments. So that was what the morning looked like. And the first few mornings were rough. I'm not going to lie about it, because they were. I felt nauseous, I was irritated, but I kept at it. And within a week, I noticed a shift in myself. I was happier, I felt lighter, I was hopeful, and mornings started getting easier and easier. So my habit before of sleeping in was serving a purpose at that time. Then, once I started to know better, do better, now that habit no longer had a place. I had replaced it with another one, right? So, had I said that I was just going to wake up early, right, and not have a plan for that time, which I had tried before, it never worked because I wasn't replacing my habit. I was just trying to get rid of it. Whereas now, I have replaced that habit with another one that's going to move me forward. So, the other thing about this habit that I was now replacing with is that this new habit was now allowing myself to take care of me before having to take care of everybody else. Right? So, why hadn't I started waking up earlier before? Because I didn't have something productive and fun to keep me motivated to do it. Plain and simple. I didn't have anything to wake up to be excited for, to replace that habit and make it effective. So, and again, I'll be honest, some mornings my bed seems so comfy cozy, and I feel like it's much easier to just keep on snoozing. But I also know how I'm going to feel once I get up and start doing the work. Right? So I did the habit enough at the beginning to see the benefits, to see what it was going to do. And then now that feeling that has been attached to that habit now makes it easy for me to get up. I'm not going to lie, there are still some days on the weekends that I have allowed for rest because I know that my mind and my body need it. But I know that that's why I'm doing it, because I'm listening to my body, I'm listening to my mind. And I do need a sleep, kind of like a sleep-in day, right? However, I still do my studying once I get up. So that habit of studying, of taking that time to take care of myself, to take care of my own mind, that habit is still there. And I stick to that. But again, habits need to shift as you grow, and you can't just eliminate one habit and expect it to stay gone. You need to replace it. So in the book Atomic Habits, James Clear says, "We all deal with setbacks, but in the long run, the quality of our lives often depend on the quality of our habits. with the same habits, you'll end up the same results. With better habits, anything is possible. So our habits, we never forget them. We never forget bad habits. That's why we have setbacks and we go back to the not so good ones, right? We don't forget them. That's why they're so easy to go back to. But in the long run, we need to assess what we're trying to accomplish with what we're actually doing. Right? So with the same habits, you'll end up with the same results. So if you're content with where you're going and how things are looking, perfect. Your habits are serving you. But if you're not happy with where you're going, if you're not happy with where you are at, if you want more out of life or if you want more out of yourself, then that's where your habits aren't measuring up. So you need to shift those habits so that you can move to the person you want to be. So your call to action this week, okay, is to take a good look at the habits that are running your life. Because our habits are running us for most of the time during the day. Okay, I encourage you to jot down your day piece by piece for a few days. So have a notebook, take time every few hours to jot down what you have done between those hours. This will give you a concrete look at what you're doing that is habitual. So if every morning your alarm goes off, like mine goes off at 5:20, I still snooze once, not 4 times, once, right? So that's habit. I'm going to see it every day. And then I get up, I head off to the bathroom and do what I got to do. I get ready. And then I'm on Zoom by 5:45 so that we can read together. So I'm going to see that every single day. That's habit. Then what do I do? Okay, then we're done the call. I turn everything off. I go wake up my kids, get them ready, and then off we all go to the main floor so we can eat our breakfast, get ourselves ready. So basically my morning between 5:20 and about 8 o'clock, which is when we leave, is all habit. It looks the same thing every single day of the week, right? We drive to work or we drive to school. Habit. I take the same route every day. And an example of this is I used to do a drive-through every single morning. Well, when I made the decision to switch and just make my coffee at home, now I was switching a habit. And there are days where I still made that turn into the Timmy's Drive parking lot. Oof, right? And when I got to that parking lot, I was like, what am I doing? And then I had to loop back around and get back on track, right? Whereas now, like Friday, I wanted to treat myself to some Timmy's. I missed that drive-through because it was no longer a habit. So again, habit. Okay, so go through your days, and it doesn't mean that you have to jot it down every single time you do something. I'd say before you leave for work, jot down what you did. At lunchtime, jot down what you did. At supper time, jot down what you did. Break it into little pieces so then it doesn't take a whole lot of time. It takes little chunks of time. Okay. So you've done this for a few days, and then I want you to reflect on which ones are serving you right now. So out of all the habits that you wrote down, which ones are serving you? Which ones aren't? Which ones are moving you forward? Which ones are keeping you stuck? Which ones are bringing you joy? Which ones are bringing on chaos? And because I love color coding, grab 2 colored highlighters or pencils or pens, whatever, and start highlighting and circling. All the ones that are serving you, moving you forward, bringing you joy in one color. All the ones that aren't serving you, that are keeping you stuck, that are kind of bringing on that chaos, in another color. So now you have the beginning of a plan of the habits that you need to phase out and those you need to keep, right? So the ones in the one color are the ones that you need to keep because they're doing their job, they're helping you. The ones in the other color, not so much, right? So now you've got this color-coded plan, and now I'm going to leave you. And you're probably going to go, okay, wait, what? Now what? So like, what do I do now? I can see what I need to shift, but how? Right? Because you've got your plan, you know, you see it in color, you see it right in front of you, what I need to keep, what I need to leave or replace. But now you need to make the shift, right? So now you know what you got to do, but how? And this is where I come in. I am your coach. I'm here to guide you through the decision. They may be tough at first, but I'm here to guide you through the decisions that need to happen, the shifts that need to happen so that you get the life that you desire. So once you decide that you want that change and you see what needs to be changed, that's when you reach out and you book a call with me, right? So you've done the beginning, you see what needs to change. Now you decide that you want to change it, and then we do the rest together, okay? So to book a call with me, go to the Calendly link in the video description, choose a time that works for you, let's chat, right? Let's connect so that I can help you create that change. Okay, so your action steps again, jot down your habits for a few days, choose the ones that you want to keep, choose the ones that need to be phased out, and then book a call with me so we can talk about it, so that together we can create order in your mind and in your life. Thanks for listening. I love you all.